All right. Howdy, folks. We are now live from the River House in Crestone, Colorado. This is Mr. E and Mr. Matthew Bailey. Hello, Matthew. And what wants to happen today?
Good afternoon, Mr. E, and good afternoon, audience, and greetings from Boulder, Colorado and Crestone, Colorado. This is where we authenticate that. Mr. E, could you authenticate how much preparation we've done for this show?
Absolutely none, and even less than that.
Okay. Right, so pick the fifth.
All right, there's the fifth card, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, it's a sorrow card, Matthew.
Now, isn't that fascinating, considering our conversation just beforehand? My goodness. Wow. Okay, so tell me what you think about that card.
You know, sometimes right before we have an awakening, a shift of perspective. In this case, it was an enlightenment. We go to the depths of our sorrow to really inside, like truly in it, to the point where we think nothing is happening. Maybe we're completely at the mercy of it. And then when we surrender and completely let go of that sorrow, something new can emerge. It's like, and this would point, I feel like, if I'm going to make a larger interpretation of the card, into the sort of mini era we're entering into right now, which is, we don't know how far along this virus is going to cast itself in the world. It looks like everywhere, and it looks like really quickly. And, you know, so a lot of sorrow on the planet. It feels like, Matthew, that the coronavirus is taking the human population of coffee beans and putting it through a grinder until we come out something different on the other side.
That's interesting.
You know, it's going to be collective grieving, collective sorrow, a lot of individual sorrow, but ultimately I feel like there'll be so much of it that we'll have to feel the sorrow. And that's the card that's come up today, just to remind everybody. And that'll be a great gift. Supertramp says, let it break you. And I'm right there with him, you know, let it break you. Let the pain break you. What are we so scared of? Let's experience this. Let's be completely present with what's happening right now and our feelings of sorrow, because that is the way through.
Yeah. How do you experience the sorrow invitation in a whole way, where we don't get stuck in sorrow for too long? But how do we allow that process to go through us and then come out the other side released? What's your advice to the audience?
Well, this is a great question, and thank you for asking it. I've been saying for years, and we've been practicing for years, a more efficient way to do the healing work. And we're not going to be able to escape these things, but if we harbor in our minds the same belief systems that we've always believed around healing, in other words, that we need a pill, or we need a doctor, or we need this, or we need that. And I'm not saying those are bad or good. I'm just saying a lot of times we've just scripted these things in our mind about how long healing takes and what does it take. Is it like a pill? Well, a more empowered individual is going to take that depression and see it as a gift, and see it that life is trying to grind them into compassion. And it starts with self-compassion. They learn to really appreciate the depth of the sorrow and the depth of the challenge that they have as a human being. And when they really get down to the core of it and find that place of self-compassion, they shorten the cycles of those healings into a point where it actually, there isn't being overcome by this, and life really becomes vastly different on the other side of the sorrow. So we've got to learn how to experience it. And I'm not saying bypass it, because to bypass it would be to ignore it. What I'm saying is to go so fully into it that you go through the funnel of it much, much faster and much more efficiently, so you can get through a whole lot of grieving work almost instantaneously.
Okay. You know, I'm actually delighted the bloody sorrow cards come up, because now we can really talk about the real deal. I really like it.
Yeah,
I feel that's one of the best cards we've drawn for a long time. And because it's so much in the human experience, it is about the individual feeling. And so for me, that gateway that's behind you, that blue door, that opening, is that blessing. As we finish with sorrow, the doors open up more and more, and that blessing from the other polarity comes through. But also for me, it reminds us that Source is always with us. Source and our angels and our guides are always with us in the sorrow, guiding us through it and helping us to move through it. What do you think about Susie's comment about "we are one, there is no separation"? I think.
I feel like this awakening that we're going through is the empowerment of the individual. So yes, it's an individual experience. We born alone, die alone. You know, ultimately we are alone. You know, there are all these people in our periphery, but we are who we are, and where we are right here in this moment in this pandemic is a perfect way to look at somebody's karma. You can say, all right, I can tell a lot about this person's karma based on how they're responding to this situation and where they are in this situation, you know. And so yeah. And so that makes us all unique, but it also, we, for the first time, have a shared karma that is blatantly in our face, which is we're all in this together. And I think that's one of the most exquisite things that this is out of this great sorrow. There's going to be a fantastic gift on the other side of this, because I've known that the deeper my sorrow is about something, usually the greater gift it is on the other side. So now if we've got 7.7777 billion people going through the same thing at the exact same time, there must be something beautiful on the other side, Matthew.
But what I'm mindful is this, key, is we've forgotten the compassion of individuality. I think if we try and go back to where we were before, we would have missed the importance of the compassion for the individual. I'm mindful, how do we not lose the individual and compassion for an individual, as we return back to normality? How do we guard that? How do we protect that? How do we not lose that intelligence that surfaced across the entire world?
It's going to have to take us to a collective sorrow that has the power to break the will of enough people so that they can surrender to something new.
Yeah, I think we're talking about a redefinition of values, a redefinition of ethics, and a redefinition of bias and belief systems. And what would be really wonderful, I think, coming out of this, is that just one government said, you know, we now understand that every citizen is of importance. And how do we enable every single citizen going forward?
It becomes actually the very first thing of an enlightened society is to empower the individual. It's the very first thing you do, empowering the individual. And we know that money and resources follow energy. So if we spend time, helping someone come into alignment with what their personal power's signature is, and we show them how to get these healing modalities that aren't difficult to learn about how to move emotion and that kind of thing. And then that's the first part. Empower the individual. Second part is to build community. So now we take that and we expand what we're doing and build a community around it. And then once that community gets established and they've got their revenue situation done, then the third piece of building an enlightened society is pay it forward. And your money follows the energy. So think about how much money we've wasted on building nuclear arsenals and defending ourselves against ourselves. You know, and so we're all worried about this economy. I get it, stock market and all the rest of it, but we have been putting, as a human species, take countries and politics and nationalism out of it for a second. We have been at war with ourselves forever. I think there's something new emerging. It's called the have not yets, and it's going to be a group of people that come together and, you know, emerge with a better way of doing things. We don't know how long that's going to take. We don't know how extensive this pandemic is going to run its way through it may be that the pandemic isn't ever going to recede until we get how to build compassionate economic systems so that everybody can get what they want, so we can support each individual human life as though it were a flower or anything else, you know, and tend it, cultivate it, make it beautiful, give them a safe place to live, feed them good things, you know, give them plenty of water, you know, and all of a sudden we have a beautiful earth. What would happen if we built an economy on her, with her?
Right.
In communion with the mother. I mean, I know that sounds hippie, but I mean, all right, we tried it everybody else's way. Let's do it a different way.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, why not, right? Why not do it? Is that we do need these sacred flames where we don't fall back into the past, but the flame keeps us moving forward into continued expansiveness. What do you think about that kind of thinking?
Because what you're talking about is you're talking about bringing God into everything. In it. And somehow we've got to teach people that God doesn't have an agenda except to love. So how do you do that? How do we educate and how do we govern, and how do we manage, and all these things with the God presence, but not make it about any kind of theology or way of being, other than it's just pure compassion. Like, how far is this thing going to press us into the coffee grinder, into the funnel, so that, you know, on the other side, we have to create something new because our absolute survival demands it. I'm curious, are we going there? Are we going to figure this out before? And the answer is that when the virus leaves, this is probably about the time we figure it out, no matter how long it takes.
The people. So the question is, what can we do as people that are passionate about community and about everybody thriving? What can we do to help the conversation and create a framework where people feel empowered to have greater choice in the kind of society they want to live in and the lives they want with their families?
Meditate with the question, how may I serve?
I love it. That's beautiful.
Help people. A lot of people need help right now. You know, if somebody calls you and they say you need money, give them money. I mean, you know, like what's happening right now? You feed people, you help them, you know. And so I think out of this helping one another right now, where we are, people are going to recognize their gift. They're going to. It's already happening in a way that we can't see it yet because we're behind isolation. But when we come out of this, we're going to be looking at the world with different questions. And if we can ask that question, how may I serve? It will be answered for us. And if we serve from our heart, we'll be answered in terms of being rewarded in whatever resources we require. We got to give up the idea of money right now, because somebody forgiving your rent might just be as important as money. So there's going to be a lot of different ways that money and resources and credit works out here very shortly. And if we keep opening up and keep saying, how may I serve? How may I serve? Don't make it about us. Don't make it about my poor me, that my income's gone, that I'm not where I want to be with the people I want to be. No, it's like, wake up to it and say, I'm open to something new. How can I serve?
So I like this question. I really do. How may I serve? And then basically serve others. So I'm liberated and in harmony where the sorrow is taking me to.
You know, this is an important card for another reason I'm thinking right now. You know, a lot of people right now are responding with fear. They're responding with anger. They're responding with pushback. They're responding with denial. They're responding with a lot of those things. Well, a lot of those things are like kind of like people holding this sorrow at bay. And so I think what's underneath every mental ailment, every place of disempowerment, every trauma field, every human suffering is this. You got to get to this. This is the gateway. You get through it.
Yeah, I love it. And then for the audience, and I love this, by the way. Yeah. Then I'd invite the audience to then use this alchemy, source, God, universe, show me who I am. Yeah, we have to look at success in a different way now. Success is not palaces. Success is not big cars. That could be part of a success, but success is about the value of everybody thriving. The success is about being in harmony with the planet. The success is about people having good nutrition. The purpose of the universe is much, much deeper than that. And I think we have to wake up to that. And sorry, I'm getting on my...
No, it's okay. It's okay. Susie's giving you a round of applause right now for getting on your soapbox, Matthew. Hey, for years, we've been talking about success is compassion. Compassion is success. We're part of a compassionate economy. You know, now all of a sudden, there's just like, wow, like there's this real opportunity to create a compassionate economy. All the barriers. I mean, Matthew, they found trillions of dollars. I know it's not all ending up in the right place, but you know, they're putting homeless in the hotels. Come on, 2 months ago, and I called you up and said, hey, by the time spring rolls around, we're going to be putting homeless into hotels finally, you know, like we talked about on the show, you know, and here it is. And here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is.
I mean, we've been, if people go back over the radio shows, you've been saying this for a long time.
Sorrow created a policy change to let prisoners out early. It created a policy change to give hotel rooms to. So in other words, the value of this card is the value of the human condition is if we don't feel this, then we're on a trajectory where we hurt the earth and hurt ourselves and hurt one another. So now what collective is doing is learning to feel so that the path forward doesn't have to be at the expense of other human beings or even other life forms on this planet.
Yeah. And we're going to step in together into this future together. That's called growing up. That's called maturity. That's called evolution. And that's where we're kind of inviting people to play, right? Is this, and everybody can do this. Everybody.
Feel it. Everybody. Feel your grief. Don't try to be a big, strong man anymore. Don't try to be, you know, hold the whole family together woman anymore. Like literally, like break. The kids know it anyway. They can feel it. Let yourself break, just like Supertramp said.
You read Hunt's comments.
It's not about death, it's about life. Pollution is down and nature is up. Yeah, the earth got tired of choking on this crap we were putting in the air, and now all of a sudden, you know, listen, people aren't going to forget how clean the air. I mean, LA, they've got clean air, you know, fancy cars. What's the point of a fancy car anymore? Like, I mean, what, like, you know, and hopefully we'll learn how to make things without creating so much pollution, you know, and we're all responsible for that. And I think that's what's going to happen is you're going to see a universal responsibility come forth, you know, and this is when the virus goes away is when collectively we all say everyone's responsible and no one's at fault. Don't let this pandemic squash your light. Don't let it dim your light. You make sure that you're doing what you have to do as this thing goes along. And the most important thing, Matthew, is to envision a new reality. We have to envision, we have to believe in something beyond this, and we have to keep speaking about it, and we have to keep talking about the gift of this thing. April said, what an amazing time to be alive. It is. So much incredible things are going to be engineered out of this. So many things are going to be let go of, you know, and we're going to learn so many fantastic lessons. And wow. That well image. Remember I said it's like we're standing at the bottom of a well, and all of a sudden the well starts filling up with water. And if you swim with the water, you can just get out when the well fills up.
I really like that well analogy, actually, E, because it's kind of, we're in this place of isolation and helplessness, and then an energy comes in that wants to lift us up, and the more we resist it, the more we're going to drown. But if we go with the flow, we pop up at the top of the well, and hey presto, here's our expansiveness. That is genius, mate. That is really good.
I think that's what's going to happen with all the different institutions, all the different individuals, all the different customs. Everything is in that well right now. What's going to be on the other side of Corona?
That's lovely. What a great way to state that.
Who can evolve with it? All right, brother, I love you. I got to get up and move around. This has been fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.